As Shin navigates through challenges, he uncovers more secrets and confronts new opportunities. Meanwhile, in the world around him, unexpected developments continue to unfold, testing alliances and unveiling hidden agendas. If you missed the earlier chapters, you can catch up on Pages with Sidra, where you'll find everything from world building to high-stakes drama, and twists that will leave you on the edge of your seat. Tune in for the latest developments, or catch up on past episodes if you're ready to dive deeper into this extraordinary tale. Special Affairs Bureau, the commander told Shin, all 3 of your prophecies have come true, and we have witnessed your power firsthand, but we still hope to learn more intelligence. We wonder what caused this. Is there any possibility of a remedy? Now, upon hearing this, Shin smiled, thinking the leaders of this world finally show some competence. How do I explain the items exchanged from the system? Because humans, in any world, waver between justice and self-interest. If we recruit and train people here, they need not only fear but also benefit. Instead, let's reverse this and imitate them. Establish an organization. In this way, I can not only issue orders in the name of the organization, but I can also recruit talents from different worlds through it. He told everyone, actually, he was sent here to investigate the cause of the apocalypse. Based on the predictions calculated by the organization, the causes of the apocalypse are varied, but it will definitely happen sooner than they can imagine. Upon hearing this, Xiao asked Shin, "What kind of organization do you work for?" Shin explained that the organization he belongs to is called the Universal Order Preservation Association. It constantly observes the operation of different parallel worlds. When the association predicts that an apocalypse is imminent, it sends a savior envoy to investigate the cause and work with the locals to save the world. Curious, Xiao Chu asked Shin if his organization must be a high-dimensional civilization that controls the fate of countless worlds. He assumed there must be many powerful envoys like Shin there. However, what they didn't know was that Shin had only recently invented the organization upon arriving in this world, and he was the sole member. But the system told Shin that although his words were confusing, if he wanted to start an organization in this dimension, then the organization members must include the system as well. Technically, they were 2 people, Shin said. Shin then told everyone, according to the predictions, that 3 years later, on Earth, SD 878, human activity would almost disappear, and the remaining flame of civilization would be extinguished. This would mean the extinction of humanity. Upon hearing this, everyone present in the meeting room was shocked. The commander questioned Shin, asking if the apocalypse was inevitable, what preparations should they make, and what plans needed to be implemented. He asked Shin, who had shown great power, if he had the strength to resolve these disasters. Shin, relaxing in his chair, replied, "The situation is becoming serious. It seems you're willing to cooperate now." The commander apologized to Shin for doubting him before, explaining that they also had to consider the impact. He asked for Shin's forgiveness. However, Shin told him not to place all their hopes on him, and then showed them a video projection of a world he had previously handled. He explained that in less than a year, that world was nearly wiped out by a zombie virus. The reason here is similar. A lot of early events were used to test him. However, when he finally found a way to save them and reached out to help, there were fewer than 2 million people struggling to survive on the entire planet. Yet, the association still judged that I had completed the task of saving humanity. Do you know what that means? Upon hearing this, everyone began discussing what he meant, though no one seemed to know the answer. But Xiao spoke up, telling Shin that what he saved was humanity, not just the number of people. Hearing Xiao Chu's answer, Shin nodded and said yes, regardless of the number of people, as long as civilization can continue, the association does not care about the loss of many lives. So, when disaster strikes, the choices you make as leaders are what can turn the tide, not me. The commander, upon hearing this, remembered an ancient king who led his tribe to build a dam to control floods. When disaster struck, he remarked, as his descendants, we will never choose to sit and wait for death. Shin thought to himself that this world was similar to his, even down to the stories of controlling floods. The commander then told Shin to rest assured, as he would report to the top immediately, and grant him the authority to mobilize all resources as quickly as possible. They saluted Shin, vowing to prove themselves through their actions so that he would not regret his choice. After handling all matters related to the Special Affairs Bureau Association, Shin returned to Miss Mo's hotel, sighing, "The chaos has finally ended. I hope there are some leftovers, even saviors have to eat." As he enjoyed the beautiful view from the window, a voice suddenly called out to him from behind. It was Mo Yanai, Miss Mo's father. He introduced himself as the current chairman of the Mo family group, saying it was an honor that his daughter Mo Chu's cooking had been recognized by Mr. Shin. Mo Yanai shook hands with Shin and told him that he had just instructed Mo Chu to prepare a good meal so they could talk while eating and discuss the matter of the apocalypse. Upon hearing this, Shin smiled and asked Mo Yanai, "Do you believe it?" Mo Yanai laughed and said, "Not to mention me, even my daughter doesn't believe in any apocalypse. But I can see that you are definitely a powerful person with extraordinary abilities, and that's enough to be worth investing in. Just your charisma alone could attract a large number of loyal followers. Moreover, our East lacks a true superhero. By leveraging your abilities and the topic of the apocalypse, we could create something monumental." However, Shin interrupted, asking Mr. Mo Yanai, as one of the few people who controlled the world's resources, if he had already learned about the predictions and disasters from Special Affairs. Shin told him, "I'm just a small businessman, and what I fear most is instability. If the whole world falls into panic, there's no need to test my motives. Whether you believe it or not is up to you. What you are most afraid of is the turmoil caused by the apocalypse affecting your assets and business, right? But you must understand, even if your assets and business are spread all over the world, just one global tsunami, and tens of billions of assets will turn into nothing. The probability of this happening, do you dare to bet on it?" Shin then warned him, "You can completely pretend the apocalypse doesn't exist, but the despair after playing deaf and dumb and the relief after doing everything you can are two completely different experiences." Mr. Mo Yanai knew what Shin was saying was right, but he couldn't believe that Shin could be the savior. He doubted, how can he alone save billions of people? Yet, he recognized that Shin's abilities were real, and as long as his assets were preserved, even if the apocalypse was real, so what? But he was more curious if Shin could take a small number of people to another world for refuge. So, he said to Shin, "Since you know my business spans the globe, funding is not an issue. I can even help you build a unique spaceship." Shin smiled, saying, "No matter which world's rich people, their thinking is exactly the same." He then asked Mr. Mo Yanai to listen carefully. Using his ability, Shin explained, the qualification to travel through worlds has nothing to do with power and wealth. It depends solely on the level of life. If you cannot evolve from a mortal, you can never escape the fate of humanity. I warned the rich people of the last world who tried to escape, but they didn't listen, and those titanium alloy coffins they spent a fortune building are just coffins. Mr. Mo Yanai felt a wave of fear wash over him as he suddenly found himself floating in space. He saw many destroyed spaceships around him, and then to his horror, a dead person appeared in front of him. Terrified, he realized this was just an illusion created by Shin. Shin told Mr. Mo Yanai, "Disasters do not recognize money." Shaken by the dreadful scenes, Mr. Mo Yanai wondered if what he saw was real. Shin smiled and said, "Speaking of the possibility of traveling to parallel worlds, it is not non-existent." He then offered Mr. Mo Yanai a chance to join the Universal Order Preservation Association. "If you join us," Shin continued, "the association will naturally be responsible for guiding you onto the extraordinary path." Mr. Mo Yanai was surprised, thinking, the ultimate delicacies of our world can prolong life and cure diseases, but the extraordinary. I'm afraid the terrifying virtual scene I just witnessed is only the most ordinary among the extraordinary. Even if it's not the apocalypse, reaching that level is something ordinary people can never achieve. Curious, Mr. Mo Yanai asked Shin, "What are the recruitment standards of your association?" Shin smiled and said, "Speaking of which, I have a bit of curiosity. As the most famous Mo family consortium in the world, I'd like you to mobilize all your power at any cost, and then we'll see what you can achieve with confidence." Mr. Yanai replied, "Understood. I will collect the relevant reports and deliver them to you as soon as possible." Then, noticing they had arrived at the VIP dining room, he added, "Oh, we've arrived at the VIP dining room." But Shin, with a hint of fatigue, asked Mr. Yanai, "If it's not too much trouble, could you please prepare a residence for me as soon as possible? Even saviors need to sleep." Thank you for watching! Stories like this remind us of the power of resilience and imagination. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Pages with Sidra. Your support helps bring more stories to life. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep reading. See you in the next chapter.